Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. This is Desiree Dubois, founder of An Empowered Woman and Homework. And homework is where you live, where you work, work where you live, anywhere in the world. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Jamie and Amy Honey. And we're going to speak about not only just what's happening in the world and our businesses, but what's in our minds. So we are preparing, we're all excited. We're preparing for a 5 day challenge, virtual summit that we're having rather next week. That's November the 2nd to the 6th, Monday through Friday, every day from 9 to 12 p.m. and Pacific time. And we're going to cover all the different things that you can utilize as far as being able to market your expertise, your passions, your geniuses with content marketing, utilizing affiliates and podcasts and articles and videos, as well as getting sponsors and joint ventures, as well as doing masterminds and memberships and all the different ways that you can monetize your expertise, giving you more credibility, visibility, and revenue streams. And we feel that that's exactly what you're going to need to go forward into 2021 fearlessly. But we do know that sometimes there's those ninja thoughts. There's those thoughts that in your mind that maybe says, I can't do this, I'm too tired, I'm just beaten, or I'm not good enough, or whatever's going on in that mind that may prohibit you from achieving your goals. Not just achieving it, but it being amazingly at it now in spite of. So I want to introduce Jamie and Amy Honey, and they're going to take it away from this. So listen to what they say, listen to what they suggest, listen to what they're doing to make sure that not only you, but everybody around you is going forward fabulously. Good morning. How are you doing?
We're doing awesome. How are you?
Good
Oh,
morning.
great. Thank you. I'm excited. I'm so excited to have you here. I'm so excited to have you part of our summit. I'm so excited to hear what you're going to say.
Cool. Yeah, we're excited to be here because we know that there's a lot of people out there that are feeling frustrated from what's happening around the world right now, and there's a lot of uncertainty and a lot of confusion, but we can't control any of that. So we want to focus on what we can control and what we do have access to, right?
Yeah, we have this phenomenal resource that we underuse, which is called our brain, our perception, our mindset. We bring that to every situation. All the successes and all the failures in our life, we have been a common denominator in every one of those. So when we look at how we can observe the environment, no matter what arises, become the master of that environment by improvising with your open mindset.
Exactly.
Sound pretty good. Quick,
Very well
put it
said.
out there. Make a meme.
Somebody quote him.
Quick. What did I say? It sounded good.
Well, because it's just like there's so many people. The common, there's a common thought about now, like, and they're just anxious, they're nervous, they're stressed, and it's not even necessarily what's happening with their businesses. It's all the other environmental things that's happening with us, and we have to just get our minds, get a tunnel vision, and go way past that. And I know that you work with people in that manner, not only for their business, but for the personal lives, and you have a lot of things that you share with that.
We do. So, the biggest thing around our mindset and around it is we have something that we call ninja thoughts. So ninja thoughts are basically, we call it a ninja because they're in the shadows and they can either destroy you or they can support you and fight for you. But regardless, the ninja will always fight for your belief. So whether you believe whatever you believe, that ninja is going to fight for it. But sometimes those thoughts are sabotaging. And so that's why we call them ninja thoughts.
And the great thing with the ninja, it's someone dressed in black pajamas that's hiding in the shadows. But when you shine a flashlight on it, they're just like, oh, hey, it takes away all their power. So when we become self-aware of a thought we have that potentially served us in the past, on our path in the past. There you go. Oops, see, what? So when we become aware of the ninja thought, then we have some power over it and we can change it. And we can have the ninjas fighting for us, which means there is unlimited success opportunities available to us in our environment when the ninjas are fighting for us instead of against us.
For instance, a ninja thought, they don't always make sense because our emotionality isn't logical. So we create beliefs around emotionality when we're very little. So for instance, like our mom might have said, don't talk to strangers. So we have a belief that talking to strangers is a bad idea. Yet
There's a fear element associated with the potential talking to a stranger.
Yet when we're in business for ourselves as an entrepreneur, what's the number one thing we have to do? We have to talk to strangers, right? So that could be like a little ninja thought that's sitting there, or a belief.
So what we have is the conscious desire to speak to strangers and the subconscious fear of speaking to strangers. So there's a lot of energy in that stretch of two beliefs. When you change your subconscious thought into talking to strangers is wonderful and is wonderful and beautiful, it benefits them, it benefits me. Now that ninja's looking for potential strangers that connect with your goals, your objectives, and it finds it because the subconscious mind is aware of all the environment, yet conscious mind's just aware of only like 5 to 10% of any potential moment.
Like when we think about an iceberg, when you think about an iceberg and you look at the tip of the iceberg, right? But underneath it, it's this huge giant thing. But what's really being controlled is the huge giant thing underneath, because anytime the ocean moves, that iceberg is completely moving. But that conscious mind, the tip of the iceberg is your conscious mind. The subconscious mind is really what controls everything in our lives.
And it's very exciting when you understand how you can do such a tiny bit of effort and create great results because you've got your subconscious working for you, which is working 100% of the time. And like that iceberg analogy, you've got this tiny little tip out into the air. Imagine a conscious thought, a desire, a goal, an objective that I want this, is like the wind blowing on the tip. But the current, the subconscious mind, your belief and your behavior from past experience is pushing in a different direction. Which way is the iceberg going to go? It's going to flow in the current as opposed to the little conscious mind, the goal, the desire, blowing for a short moment. Because how long can we hold a thought? Even unless you're doing a lot of meditation.
Squirrel.
And for some of it, oh, look at the shiny object. It's harder to control the thought. So when you can train your subconscious to work with you, then you have a lot less effort and a lot more result.
So the best way to know if you have a ninja thought that might be sabotaging your success is if you have a reoccurring pattern. You know, if you are if you're constantly getting money but you can't keep it, there's a belief about money, a ninja thought about money.
Mm-hmm.
If you constantly get into bad business deals with bad business people
who take advantage of you,
then that's the belief.
Mm-hmm.
That's the subconscious belief. And again, it doesn't make emotional sense. A lot of times it doesn't make any sense because emotions don't make sense.
Because how many of you have got kids out there or experienced kids, seen kids up until the age of 8? They don't have all the brain waves of delta, theta, alpha, beta happening in their brain. They're more in the theta state where they're in the semi-hypnotic state. And so everything is possible. Their imagination is, oh, I'm now on the moon, I'm now underwater, and my giraffe can talk to me. Yeah, that's all real. They have this amazing imagination, yet everything we say, everything they see is also a given fact for them. So you've learned stuff from your childhood that was real for you as a child, yet does not serve you as an adult, especially as a business professional. And so therefore there's this conflict going on in the subconscious mind. You're like drinking your coffee, reading your reports and going, oh yes, I'm going to invest in this. Subconscious mind is way over here going, no! And so when you can get it aligned, you have less effort with greater results. And what happened with like the whole COVID situation, a lot of people feel stuff has changed. It has. And all the way through history, in your own history, multiple times, there's been sudden change. Oh, I'm now in high school. Oh, wow, everyone's bigger and stronger and weirder, and the classes are more difficult. What happened to my crayons and my coloring? But if I wanted to just stay with coloring, I would never have gone to university. We accept change when we know that it's an expected change. COVID was an unexpected change. And it's our expectations when they're not met that creates the distress. So when you can go, no matter what happens, it's in my best interest. how can I serve other people, and how can I support myself in my dreams, my goals, the desire, in this new framework. And what we've seen is like so many of the great minds out there that are speakers and have wonderful information to share, like Desiree, they have gone, instead of like, oh, here I am in live shaking your hands, here I am in a Zoom format or a virtual format, being able to still connect and communicate with you, because times have changed, but your goal, your objective hasn't changed. We just changed the framework and how we're going to get there. And that's the flexibility of that child mind being used creatively and powerfully.
Right,
So,
which we're going to teach you next.
so
Go ahead.
question is that, I think most of us have heard, realistically that yes, your subconscious and your conscious, and that you control one controls the other. What are the red flags when we know that we're not in our consciousness, that we're still reacting or acting from our subconscious?
Pattern,
Patterns? Is it patterns, or
patterns that we don't
if
want.
okay, so is it always patterns? Like, say, for example, and I'll be totally transparent with you, is that, I haven't had success in a team recently.
Mm.
Hiring the right people, having the right people, whatever, around whatever reason, I'll figure that out later. But right now, so is it my sub? So yes, so when I approach a new team member, maybe I'm a little reserved. Maybe I don't go play full out and blah 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 before, because I'd say, okay, I've done that before in my subconscious, and it's my reality, and I've done all that before, and it still hasn't worked out. Still hasn't let them be the best team member ever. So I need to say that I've had some wonderful opportunities and experiences with the people in the past. For whatever reason, they've had to go different directions, and I'm going to keep giving all that I've got to get that wonderful team. So just kind of work that through with me, because I think we're all guilty of it, ladies and gentlemen. I think we all can kind of pinpoint something that we're doing or not doing that's showing up that way. The ninja thoughts. We all have some ninja thoughts. With that,
So I would trace it back and start asking yourself, like, what were your beliefs around working in groups when you were a child? Or can you think of a specific instance as a child that maybe a team member left you, or a friend left you in the same way that your team members, you can't think of anything?
So
not really, 'cause I don't identify it all with abandonment. I don't identify maybe I think maybe I'm not screening correctly, or maybe I'm not hiring correctly, or, I don't
Maybe it comes down to trusting yourself.
I think I thought I know, because I learned from my attitudes. I learned from each experience, okay? So each time
yeah.
something happens, I said, "Okay, let me reevaluate this and what I could have done differently or better, or, whatever it is." And then I kinda take that, things that and then go forward with that new enlightenment, so to speak, if I feel like that way. So I don't look at it as even negative. I just look at, okay, I gotta really get this, really get this why I'm in, because we have big plans for next year and blah, 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 blah. So,
So a great way for people to become self-aware of a ninja thought is to, for example, saying that the hiring or getting a supportive, powerful team that is connected to your vision of what a team would be, is not coming about right now. So to write that out, the statement of what's not working, and then look at each of the words and write out the definition of each of those words, because your definition for team is different to my definition for team. I'm not sure you guys are all dressed up in rugby gear running at each other in a moment. Yeah, go team! So what we want to do is look at the nouns and then give them a definition. Like, what does team mean to me? And through that process, and when we write it out, motor neurons are engaged, and a different part of our brain is involved with the combination of the physical writing, the seeing the words, and the thinking the thought, as opposed to just speaking.
And then also write down on one side how having a good team makes you feel,
mhm.
like how that would make you feel, and also on the other side how not having the team makes you feel. So then start looking at those actual feelings of emotions and figure out what emotion maybe is triggered there, and that you can remember. Like, and sometimes you'll do that and all of a sudden a memory will pop up and you're like, oh my gosh, that's it. Like, it's like it just comes like that. So when you start to get in touch with the emotion, because emotion is just energy in motion. So this all comes back to energy. So we're everything we do is about energy, the energy of it.
Everything is involved in energy. That every thought you have is a creative change to the current energetic state that you're in right in that moment. And also with that list of pros and cons or how you feel, there's something in the negative aspect that is a positive for you or a positive for your state. For example, when you look, it's like, well, if I don't get a team, then I get to do everything my way. It's like, what is more important? There's elements of something not working that you're subconsciously or emotionally connected to. Otherwise, it will fade away. When we focus on our goal, say, for example, getting behind Amy is my goal. Then my other objective is to stay away from the door. Say, for example, the door is pain. So if I just focus on staying away from the door, I don't necessarily get behind Amy, even though this is my goal. Yet when I focus on my goal, getting behind Amy, very little effort, and I actually got away from what I don't want. So when we focus on the goal that we do want, we can see the change and we have less effort for more result. Also, being aware when something's not working, it's because we have an emotional attachment to the past. There's an emotional attachment to what's not working that supports us a little. For example, me running around, staying away from the door means, everyone can see how much effort I put into my work, because as a child, I was told, you're lazy, you need to put more effort in. You know, those little elements.
That was actually one of Jamie's ninjas that he had to get through a little bit.
Well, that's very personal.
It is very personal, but I'm going to get personal here. So his dad was really like about work. Even as like a 6-year-old little boy, he was forced into this like heavy work, and so then
I was exported. No, I wasn't.
So then,
bad joke.
So then later in life, he's like really busy, but not getting anything done.
Extremely busy, not very productive.
Yeah, but it wasn't until he recognized that ninja thought, but that ninja thought served him as a kid, because if he looked busy, then his dad wasn't
beating me.
Wasn't hurting him. Yeah, I was gonna say nicer. Yeah, so he was,
in a race, he was in,
yeah.
I beat you.
So anyway, so that's how they start to get created. So there's a side that serves us with it.
Yeah.
And we have to figure out what that is too. So when we start to look at the different emotions, then you'll start going, oh, that's why I do that. And once you recognize it, then you recognize that it's not serving you anymore, and it shifts very quickly.
Then we can take that framework of support that you're getting from it not working and go, how can I create that in a way that is working with my goal? Get the same emotion, the same feeling, but with a different process.
Because the reality is we'll run away from pain more than we'll run towards pleasure.
Yeah, most people
will. But if we can start to shift that and run towards pleasure instead of running away from pain, then we stop all this busyness back here, Because
as you're a child, you were told, no, don't. And so you're punished for the no, rewarded for the yes. And so then you created this relationship in your mind. I've got to do the yes, but I'm afraid of the no. And depending on how you were raised, the no could have had severe repercussions.
But then later you also learn that yes has repercussions too.
Yeah.
Like yes, you can have that piece of cake, but you have to do the dishes first.
Yes.
So now yes comes with obligation.
And then you get a little bit older, you get in your first relationships, and you're like, oh yes. Yes. And then like, what?
What did I just say yes to?
What? No. So then you become guarded. It's like, I'm not going to say yes because of the associated unspoken commitments. Obligations. Great word. It's a triple word score. Yahtzee.
So we're going to teach you, this is one of the things we wanted to teach you guys, is how to get more yeses in your business. Would you like to learn how to get more yeses in your business?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yes.
So what Jamie was talking about with the yeses and the nos and that obligation as children. So when we get older, we think that if we just go, oh, I'll think about it, or,
give me a moment,
pause, wait, no. Or if they say no, you're actually doing yourself a disservice by saying no to things.
Because then you create a habit that no is safe and no is helping me, where no actually energetically is a restriction, it's a withdrawal, it's a stop. It's a stop in the flow. So when you learn to say yes to everything, then you get more yes opportunities, because now subconscious mind is looking at, oh, we're after yeses. Oh, there's an investor over there that's been in my environment my whole life and I didn't realize it. I'm going to go have a talk to that stranger, because I know that talking to strangers is a wonderful experience for me.
Exactly. Did you want to do the colors first? Did you want to go into that, or do you want to? Okay, all right.
Jump into the yes and.
Okay, cool. All right, so we block ourselves, and energy, everything, like you were saying, energy is a flow, and so we want to make sure that everything flows, and especially us as women. We are, I know, just don't listen for a minute, Jamie, but you might not know this, but we are actually incredibly powerful. If you think about how women are, we make an entire human. That is very creative. Like, we actually make humans. That is the most.
Can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, I contribute. We need a little bit of time.
Just a little. So, but as women, we're really powerful. So how we create is very powerful. And we create through flow and ease and grace, right? As women. So any kind of no or any kind of energy block, we feel it. Like, we feel it. And another very interesting thing about women, which I love this fact. Did you know that women that have children are 100% accurate at reading body language? 100%.
No, I never heard. Yes, no, well,
Yes,
no,
yes, exactly. Yes. And the reason is because we have to understand what that baby wants.
Yeah.
We have to know. We read body language because we just instinctively do it as women. So women are incredibly powerful with this.
I was just going to say, and children learn body language right off the basis, because that's how they know whether something's good or bad. Because when a child touches something or falls over, they look straight to the mother or the father and go and see the facial expressions. If the mother's like, they're like, the child reacts to the mother.
Yeah.
As opposed to, it's like, the child's like, oh, that wasn't dangerous. I'm okay. They're learning their environment based on the facial recognitions, the micro expressions of the adult.
But also with body language, that's also energy. And so the flow of energy is very important, especially for women, because, and that no is a huge block. And we're literally blocking our own energy. It's like our own personal feng shui. We're just like cutting it off with the no. So we teach something. Yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say, because I'll say it right now. Who's heard of Darwin? And the survival of the fittest is what we've been taught. So, but it's actually, he wrote survival of the strongest. And yet it's now been proven by science that that's not actually true. Survival of the cooperation. It's those that cooperate and support each other in nature actually creates the ecosystem that thrives. Competition is not real, except we have believed that because we were taught that as children through several generations of this is science, this is education. And I was like, oops, we made a mistake. So quick,
science is ever changing.
So it's the cooperation and support that actually creates a thriving environment. And that is what women naturally do. And they powerfully connect with other people to support that. And that's how really successful long-term businesses operate.
Right. So we have a exercise that we teach on how to say yes more often.
Okay. The exercise is called yes and it's an exercise that's used in a lot of improvisational trainings and teachings. And it's really great because you learn to say, no matter what happens, you can say yes. So you accept, and imagine you're like a Tai Chi master, and then you give the energy back. You accept what you want and give back what you don't. So it's yes, and here's a caveat to my yes. And it's a great playfulness, and it teaches you to be super aware of what's happening in the moment while creatively imagining what's possible in the next moment. So you're in two parts of your awareness in the one moment. Now, the rules, we'll do that?
Yeah. All right. Do you want me to do the rules?
Let's see if you remember them.
Okay, so the rules
You
are,
make up your own rules all the time.
sometimes I do,
Yeah.
because I yes and it.
Yes.
And just really quickly before I go through the rules, the reason that we use improvisation as a tool because of that flow and that creative energy. And the more creative we are, look, we can solve anything with creativity and resourcefulness. Developing that creativity is possible. A lot of people just think, improvisation is just like comedy games. It's not. It is really an exercise for your brain that is going to help you in your business in a huge way. And they use this in Australia a lot differently than we do in America. For instance, in Australia, all of the sales teams are required to go through improvisation. Just
Wow,
Well, the
interesting.
ones I worked with.
yeah. Well, Jamie, yeah. So they would hire Jamie in to go train corporations. Hello, welcome. Um, yeah. So the rules are: you can't say the word no or but, and you can't ask a question.
Yeah, so they're basically the two rules. You cannot say no or but, and you cannot ask a question. And the first two words that you say in the conversation have to be yes and.
Yes, and.
Yes and blah, blah, blah. And this is a great game if you've got kids that play the
Kids
game.
love this.
They love this game. And why we have playfulness in our education is in our training and in our self-awareness is because when you're a child, you naturally learn through play. And that is a natural way in which you're more
Open.
What a big word. I couldn't remember it. You're more open to learn, and you will remember it because you've connected it to a positive emotional state.
Okay. Awesome.
All
Awesome.
right, so
hear it.
let's show an example. And again, you can't use the word no or but, can't ask a question, and you want to try to add to the story. So you want to add on your own. So,
and the fun part is no matter what you say, you know that the next person is going to have to agree to it because it's part of the rules.
Yep.
And so this is the way you learn to have more yeses in your life and open up your imagination, because the more you open up your imagination, the more opportunities you see in your own environment.
this is also why in 13 years of marriage, I have never won an argument with this man.
There never really has been, just to clarify, yes, and Amy is correct. Most often she's been incorrect in her assumption of the facts. So I've just kindly pointed it out to her in such a way that she was able to agree that she was wrong. I'm just there to support. That's all it is.
I'm sure she's thankful for that. I'm sure she's very thankful for that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'm so grateful for that.
Yes, and I feel the delight.
All right, so let's show how this is done.
And anything is possible in the exercise yes and.
In this world, anything is possible.
There's no limitation at all. You're not confined by any past rule that you may have placed upon yourself as far as what is possible.
Or
Okay.
how things are.
Okay.
Yeah. And so to start the game, one person just creates a statement. I'll allow Amy to go first, and then you start the yes and process. So let's do a little bit of.
Jamie, I'm so excited. I just got this little creature.
Yes, and that is my grandmother that got shrunk by your shrink ray.
Yes, and you definitely have forgotten to feed her because she looks really, really skinny.
Yes, and her ears are smaller. She can hear you, and she's very excited about her new Beachbody outfit.
Oh, yes, and she looks absolutely lovely. I heard that she's going to be taking you to the Pride Parade.
Yes, and Pride, proud of being a strong and aware billionaire. So anyway, as you can see, it's just the playfulness where anything is possible. And when you physically engage your body, as opposed to just thinking and talking, if you physically engage your body, it actually triggers subconscious memory and support information, because you've got, well, for me, I've got 50 plus years of subconscious information back there to draw upon at any point in the moment by allowing the flow of thought.
So just a couple things that you'll run into and you'll notice when we do this with corporations, we can start to quickly identify the habits that are holding you back from success, because when you place rules onto the games or the exercises, that creates stress, even though it's a fun stress. But anytime you get into stress, you revert back to habit. So a couple of things that we will notice in this game with people is, number one is they don't want to make a statement. They want to ask a question. So they want to, and what we find a lot of times with those people is that they're afraid of making a commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So they're afraid of taking an idea to a boss and making a commitment for some reason.
They're also concerned about the responsibility of what they say.
Yeah.
So that, and then another person, for example, in that example where Amy and I are talking about the grandmother, if she kept saying, yes, and I've got a little animal, yes, and it's a little animal in your hand, yes, and it's a little grandmother. So she was just staying in the one point. Those people are limiting themselves in accepting new information and going with it. They have a set objective. They steamroll. They've got a thought and objective of how something should be, and anything different to that, they keep coming back to how it should be.
Had I not accepted that was a little grandma, had I just like kept trying to push that, no, that's not a grandma, that's a little animal. Because as soon as I handed it to him, he changed it, but I accepted it. But people that don't accept that try to keep going back, we find this happens with a lot of CEOs that are stuck in their businesses. And the reason that they're stuck is because anybody that comes with them to an idea, their first instinct is to say no to that idea, because because in their mind they're like, well, it's going to cost this and this, rather than just accepting the idea and turning it into something that could actually work and innovate for their business.
For example, you bring an idea to a CEO and they say, no, it won't work because A, B, C. You can say, yes, and once we work out how A, B, and C are affected, we'll be able to move forward. See, it's the same thing, except one is an open flow of communication and energy, and the other one is a block. So when you say yes more.
Yeah.
So I know that you work a lot with, and again, this is still relating to ladies, because I hear every day, all day, different things that they want to do, or they, feel that they want to do and they can't, for all these different reasons. Some of it is they don't have the time, or they can't afford it, or they don't have the money. I mean, this and this happens. I mean, and I'm sure you hear that a lot. And so, and all of us are business women on the line. So we encounter that. Not only do we do it possibly, but we encounter that from our clients. So how do we utilize the example that you just used, the yes and, for those situations when someone says, I can't attend the summit because I've got to work these days, or I can't attend a program because I can't afford it. I don't have the budget. What are your responses to that? Because those are real to a lot of ladies.
Right. So they aren't going as far as they can go.
Okay.
So what we say is stop telling yourself no as well. Okay. Because if you're saying, I don't have the money, I just can't do it, you have told yourself no. So rather than saying that, if it's something you really want, you're like, I really want to go to the summit, I have to work. How can I? So start asking yourself the question, how can I? And maybe they could just sign up, and maybe they can just figure out like they can, it's amazing, because when you make decision, there's power in decision. So they have to decide that they want it and decide that they're going to do it no matter what it takes. Mm-hmm. Did you have something to add to that?
Yeah. When people present that kind of objection, there's two things in play. One, they don't see the value of the possibility or the results. So that has to be explained in a stronger way. And the best way to explain it is by asking them questions, not by telling them the facts or figures of what is involved, but asking them questions in regards to, like, well, what is it that you really want? What is your really goal? How do you see this helping you? What are the elements that are most important to you right now? Those kinds of questions. Go, yeah, this will be able to support you in that. And then when they say, oh, I don't have the time, ask the question, I was like, well, what would have to happen for you to be able to have the time? Then they're thinking about the solution, not the problem. When they're saying, I don't have time, they're thinking, I don't have time. And subconscious mind gives you all the information for whatever you state in your conscious. So if you say, I don't have time, subconscious mind goes, right, here's the list of reasons why you don't have time. If you say, well, how can I make the time? Oh, different question. Here's all the ways you can make time. Which of these would work best for you? So then we're looking at framing the possibility as a thought process as opposed to what can't work. And that's what we always want to do in all elements of life. And there's two nasty words out there that we use all the time. and I bet you can't guess what they are. Come on. So there's two nasty words that we use, and one of them is but. Like, la, 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 but. Like, oh, Amy, you're really beautiful, you're lovely, you're caring, and you make a lot of money for me to play with. But now I discounted everything I said by using the word but. But you took all the covers off me last night, and you rolled up like a cocoon, and I froze! I looked like my three friends.
That's probably true.
That is true. Emotion. So if I use the word, hey, Amy, you're all these things, yet at night, blah, 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 there's a flow of the energy by changing the word but to yet. And you will see, if you become self-aware on this, everybody uses the word but all the time because we've been trained as a habit. It's a self-defense, subconscious negating of a commitment to what you've actually said. There's a lot of fluffy words. Basically, what you really want to know is change the word but to yet. See how your life changes. And encourage that in the person you're speaking to that's having resistance to doing something. And the other word is, they go, well, I have to feed the children. I have to go to school. They use the word have, H-A-V-E. Now, when you have something, that's beautiful. But when you have
to.
When you have as a commitment, that is a draining flow of energy. Change the word have to get.
I get to.
I get to take my children to the school. Oh, I get to have kids. I get to have school.
It's a reframe. Tell them how you reframe the garbage.
Oh yeah, we live in a 3-story apartment, so I take the garbage from the top story where our kitchen is, all the way down to the street, multiple times a week, all those stairs. So what I was saying is like, oh, it's Friday night. I have to take the garbage out. Then I'm like, oh no, I get to take the garbage out. I get to collect up all the stuff I don't want, and I get to put it on the side of the road, and other people,
miraculously,
it disappears. Each week someone just comes and takes the stuff I don't want away. How luxurious of me. How wonderful. How beautiful. So all the time that you say, oh, I have to go to work. No, I get to go to work. I have to pay the bills. Oh, that's awesome. I
get to pay the bills.
I get to pay the bills. I
get to have my electricity on. I get to be on the internet right now because I paid my bill.
Change the word have to get to. Change the word but to yet, and you'll see a huge change in your environment within
and
a couple
start
of weeks.
saying yes and even more. And if you're in a conversation with somebody, you don't have to actually say yes and. You can say it in your head, just yes and then make the statement.
Because there's like, oh, lovely, wonderful, interesting. That's very good. Let me see. They're all acceptance phraseology. So it's the acceptance phraseology and
of whatever somebody says to you, accept it, because that is their truth. That's their reality. When we can accept that in communication more, we can start to open up more, and the flow just becomes way easier because we're not resisting against what other people are doing or saying.
Like everybody out there, how many times have you had something you wanted to say and someone's going, no, stop, like they've blocked you? How did you feel? You didn't feel good about that experience. So then having that person as a potential client that's going to give you money is less likely because they have this emotion of feeling unfulfilled in their communication. So when you say yes and allow that communication, no matter what someone says or does, you can say yes and is the caveat that brings you back connected to your goal, your desire, your dream, your outcome. So,
and especially in sales, like when somebody has an objection, like you were saying about objections to the objections are very real to them. If you negate that in any way, people are going to shut you out anyhow.
And that becomes an argument.
It becomes an argument, and they're defensive, and they're going to defend their limitation. They're going to defend their limitation like you would not believe.
We fight for our limitations so much because it's energy connected to a thought and an emotional experience from our past. And so therefore that bundle is like, oh, you don't it's like, I do understand. I don't agree, but they need to feel the understanding.
Yeah.
So we talked about our ninja thoughts and the thoughts that are blocking us. We talked about our subconscious and our conscious. We talked about the reframing between the yes and the but. No, not no buts, but and yes. And we talked about all of those different things. So now, in summarizing, what is the most important thing that we can do as a community, as women in business, as women as mothers, and and partners, and so forth, to really, really know and feel that we're going to be furious, that we're actually going to be able to go forward without stopping, be unstoppable, because again, I see some people that are so many ladies are paused right now for good reasons, like you mentioned, for all valid reasons, for the finances, for the time, for, just whatever restrictions they have realized or recognized to be the truths. What can we do now? What can we do between now? What can we do in this summit? What can we do after the summit and being able to go forward to, not even the next year, but just to the rest of our lives, just being and doing and being just being and doing what we wanna do.
Love it. So we have 3 easy steps to overcome any obstacle,
Any
any
situation,
situation, anywhere you're at.
anything.
So when something happens and we're like, ah, right? We have to go, what happened? And we just have to state what happened factually with no emotion. And I'll give an example of this when I explain all 3. And so then the second thing is you have to ask yourself, well, what do I want? What do I want? What do I really want from this? What's the outcome I want? And then the third thing is, what action can I take? What can I do right now? It could be as simple as making a phone call. It could be as simple as whatever. So we had a really bad situation. So we owned a gym. I went into business with a guy that I thought was a friend, and basically lost the gym overnight. I had to make a decision to walk away. This was something I had built for 10 years.
And he presented this opportunity to Amy while I was working in Canada. So she was left all alone. I was out in the outback.
So I had to make a decision, right? And so I made the decision, and then Jaime came back home, and by that time, and I had already told him what was going on, and our attorneys were involved anyway. So every time I went down the road of that mother,
In
right?
other words,
Jaime would stop me and go, but what happened? But what happened? The gym's gone. The gym is closed.
yeah, the
That's what
facts
happened.
are we had a business. We no longer have that business.
That's it. That's the fact. And then he's like, well, what do you want? And so I really thought about it. I'm like, well, what do I want? I want a business I can travel, because we were tied to this gym. We were married to this gym, and we were stuck at it. And so really what I really ultimately wanted was I wanted to travel.
That's for me.
Right. Okay. And then so it was like, well, what can we do? What can I do? What action can I take? So we started applying for jobs on cruise ships. That's what we did. That's the action we took. Now, what ended up happening was we ended up going to the seminar, and we ended up meeting with the seminar owners, and we ended up applying to work with the seminar company, and we ended up traveling all over the world with this
They
seminar.
invited us. There's like 600, 700 people applied for it.
Yeah.
And they were only taking 3 people.
And
They took Amy and me.
And 2 of us were, and one other gal from Canada. So they picked 3 people out of these hundreds of people that applied.
Yeah.
And literally, but because and every time I went down that bad road, he was like, okay, stop, but what do you want? Because we had already acknowledged what happened at that point. So it's just like, well, what do you want? Okay, I want to travel. I want a job where we travel. And I just kept focusing on that. What do I want? What do I want? And every time we started to go down that road, because going down that road of he's a jerk, it doesn't do any good. It doesn't help, right?
And our emotional discord happens when expectations aren't met. So Amy expected to have a trustworthy business partner. That didn't happen. So regurgitating that moment is just creating more negative energy within her body.
And it keeps me back here.
Yeah.
It doesn't make me go forward, right?
So when we say what we don't want, for example, you're looking at unmet expectations, which creates a low vibration or a negative energy thought frame that you're using, that you're looking at the environment through. We talk about rose-colored glasses, blue-colored glasses. You're looking through colored glasses based on your beliefs. So we can reframe the beliefs to be more supportive to the positive goal and objective than the past experience. So what happened, just straight out what happened, then we go, what do I want? And a lot of the time when we work with people, I go, well, what do you want? Well, I don't want blah, blah, blah. I was like, no. It's not about what you don't want. Well, I want them to, no, that's them. What do you want? What do you want? What can you do? What do you control? You, your thoughts, your mind, your
perception.
Your perception. And so what happened? What do I want? Now, what can I do? Okay, well, I want to be an ultra billionaire. Okay, that's not going to happen in one step. Let's break that down. Let's start millionaire. Let's start 100,000aire. How do you achieve that?
What can we do? What's the next step to do that?
What can you do right now? And when you actually have direction and action, we create a chemical change in the brain. When you achieve a small goal, like my first little goal was just making a phone call. I finished the phone call. I left the voicemail. You get a little boost of dopamine and serotonin and go, hey, good on you for completing a task. Dopamine drops in, just a little drop. The bigger the task, the bigger the hit. So you start to create momentum chemically in your brain that's supporting your goals and your objective and your emotional state, reducing your stress, eliminating the cortisol, well, not eliminating, reducing the cortisol from the body, and creating a healthier being in the same moment, just by following that simple process.
So that's it. It's 3 steps and it works almost every time, no matter what situation you're in. I mean,
always.
We've actually been in some really hairy situations where we've like literally stopped ourselves and go, okay, what happened? No emotion. What happened? Just facts.
That's the tough part.
That's the toughest part. That's the toughest part. Yeah.
An example. Oh, go ahead, Desiree.
No. So what I wanted to do is that now I want to open
Yes.
questions when you have a chance, because there may be some ladies on the line that want to share.
We'll take questions. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Not about Thursday night. I don't remember it. We're not talking about it. Move on.
Whatever. You've been quarantined since March.
Can you tell? Are they people? Hello.
Yeah, we can tell if you've been quarantined. Too long.
I can't wait to have my coffee. I'm feeling a little low energy.
No, it's just, but the examples that you laid, I mean, you make it sound so simple. And I really probably make sure that everyone's written this down, because it could be that simple. And it's like, when you think anything differently, just really write it down on a wall or on a Post-it or wherever you need to write it down. This is simple things to implement, because once you start doing it, I'm sure it becomes a habit. And then if
it does become a habit, and it's easier when you have somebody reminding you too. Because had Jamie not reminded me when I was going down those bad paths, and same here, I remind him too, you know. So, and there was actually a situation 2 years ago. I was bit by a neighbor's dog, and we were.
hang on, back up. I got bit by a neighbor's dog. No, you got mauled by a Doberman.
It was a great day.
It was a big dog. Its mouth was.
Yeah, and I was really torn because I love animals so much, and I knew this dog, and like I literally had like body parts hanging out of my arm, and we were in the car, and Jamie's like, "Okay, what happened?" And I'm like, and I'm literally just shaking and crying. And I'm like, "I got bit by a dog," and he's like, "Okay." And
then she was attaching all this meaning to what being bit by a dog. I'm not a good person. Dogs can recognize person. There's something in me that's not good. Like, I'm like, no. What happened was you got bit by. We can't talk about the emotional state of the dog and why it bit you in that moment. We will create 1 million stories, and everyone will be legitimate to our brain.
And I did build I was building these stories because I really believed, I had this belief that dogs knew good people and would only bite bad people. That's how I really had this belief. And I love animals like so much. Like that was probably like that was the worst thing for me to have happen. But even in the car on the way to the hospital, he was like, "Okay, what do you want?" I go, "I want my arm to be okay," because at that point I was concerned that tendons were broke. It
did not look good.
Yeah, it didn't look good. I was concerned. I was concerned I was going to have surgery. And he's like, "Okay, what do you want?" I go, I want this to be fine with just bandages. So I didn't go down, I don't want surgery, right? I want this to be fine with bandages. Because at first I did go, I don't want surgery.
When we're trained that way, we're trained as children to don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that, don't do this.
Yeah.
We're trained. We have a habit loop of thought processes saying all the things we don't want, thinking that me not wanting to touch the door means that I get to my goal. But I can go everywhere else in this room and not touch the door and still not achieve my goal. We have to change the framework to what do I want?
So even in the car, I was like, Jamie's like, well, what do you want? And I'm like, I don't want surgery. I don't want this to be surgery. He's like, okay, how can we reframe that? And then he helped me reframe that to
What?
because I was in a panic.
She was in shock.
I was in shock and in a full panic. But at the same time, he was able to help me through that because we understood the language. So if you have somebody there that can understand that language, and it's like, okay, and then what's the next action you can do? Well, we're doing it. We're going to the hospital.
Mhm.
So, and it was just, but even in that moment, it calmed me. It calmed me down because I was able to focus on what I wanted.
Because there's only a small amount of your brain that can focus on any given point at any point in time. Squirrel, we talked about this earlier. So what we want to do is to use that part of the brain connected to our goal, our outcome, our desire. So by focusing on what do I want, what can I do, you're then creating the future as opposed to recreating your past.
Very well said. So, what just happened, or what has happened?
What happened?
What do you want? And what's your next step?
Yep. What's
What
the
can I
action?
do?
What
What's
can
the
I do?
action? Okay, so when people have any objections where they say, what's happened? What do you want? And what's your next action? What's your next step? Your next action.
Especially if it's like kind of highly traumatic, like something
Okay.
just happens, you're in shock, like that's the best time to use that. It's not
Okay.
always the easiest time, but it's definitely the best time.
But
Because
I
it
think
really gets you out of it.
yeah, but I can see people using it a lot though, because I think again, even in the course of day, we're presented different opportunities. Hey, do this, and we can do this, or hey, sign up for this, and you can go here, or whatever it is. It happens all day long. We're presented with opportunities, and like you said, many of us will say, "Well, no, I can't because of this, or this, or this, or this." So now, just being able to say, "All right, what just happened? I was offered an opportunity to, you know, go to a summit. Second, what do I want? I want to move my business forward. I want to be able to make money with podcasts. I want to be able to create a reoccurring revenue stream. I want to be able to do a online program where I can sell and make money while I sleep. Okay, then the next would be, what's your next step? Then what's your next action? Is that correct? What's your next action?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
what can I do?
What do you need to do? All right. So what you need to do is now do this or do that. Okay. So I think I got it. I hope I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna listen to this and write it down. Make sure that I incorporate it all the time. Because again, I think we're all human, and then sometimes if we don't have, we have people to support us and we be our reminders, then great. But if you don't, then we still love the fact that we have each other, even as a community. We have a mastermind every Tuesday, at 10, and so now we can utilize this within our mastermind and support each other.
Oh,
uh,
absolutely.
Moving
Yeah.
forward through the year. You also are offering, complimentary coaching to all the participants, everyone that
Yeah,
registered for the summit. You're going to complimentary coaching, a private coaching session. That's huge because that means if you register for the summit, then you will have access. You'll make arrangements, I guess, however you reach them, to do a private session with them to help them
Yep.
and move them forward to whatever goals they want going forward. So that's like amazing to know that. Yes. Yes, it is. It
how
is.
about this?
Also on an energetic level, Jamie works energetically. And so if you guys give permission, he'll work energetically with you through the summit, just remotely. So you don't even have to
Yeah, by proxy.
by
it's not
proxy. As
physical.
long as you give him permission, it's good.
There's an amazing picture. There's the Hubble telescope, and there's this another telescope, and of course the Hubble telescope does all the stars and everything that are phenomena millions of light years away. This other telescope actually films, photographs the energy of these planets, and they're all connected. There's this energy field that connects absolutely everything, and we're all part of that energy, so we can connect. What you said earlier, just back a little drop about when stuff's happening, there's troubles, what are 2 words you would use for people to move forward? And 2 of those words are honesty and caring. You have to be honest and caring of yourself and honest and caring of other people. And that's why Amy and I want to do these sessions with people, because we genuinely care about helping you and everybody achieve their next step in life, their next goal, because that makes you happier. So if you're happier, your environment is happier. And if your environment is happier, there's less negative things happening in the world. So it's a small little step. It's the what can I do to change the world? Well, what I can do is help and serve other people. Honesty and caring. And now a lot of women have come into the business way with the male format, and the male format is not conducive to long-term processes. So caring and honesty are two powerful aspects that when you use it in every element of your life, things flow. And then you get the right people to partner with because you're being honest about who you are and what you want. And caring, genuinely care about the outcome of other people.
Mhm. Well, I do. I really care about the ladies because I know that they're giving it their all, and I know many times they have other things, that are working against them. So that I know that a lot of them are pushing through, in spite of, and that's why I want to support them in every single house, every way I can, because it's again, it's just part of the journey. And I've gone through this journey since I was 12 years old. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 12. So I've never, so I know the highs and the lows and the ups and downs and the doubts and the moments, that you're feeling fantastic, and the moments that you're questioning yourself. So I know all of that, and I feel that, and I know when they're saying certain things, or they respond certain ways. I also recognize that as well. So I really do want to support them, the best way that we can, because I know it's possible. And I know the people that have done it, and that's what the summit we're going to have people speaking that actually have used these techniques, and the people that they know came from the same source as far as taking the Power 7 grads. They've taken the course, so they have the same information they have, and they had the same obstacles. Some people will share what the obstacles they've had, so they can identify with that and still be in excited and enthused and being able to confident that they can go forward and they have community to support them. And so I do thank you so much for your contribution to that, because I think, I'm good on that, the business side, but I know that it's more than just a business. It's the human side that really is going to make a difference for them actually succeeding. It has nothing to do with the tools. They all have the same tools. They all have learned the same thing. So why are some of them making $100,000 in a matter of months, and some of them have not made it yet? And how are some of them making millions of dollars currently? It will speak to that fact that they're making millions of dollars using the same content, and some are not. So just finding, making sure that they're conscious and they're aware and they are realize that they can do that is going to be powerful for us.
Awesome. Well, we're
So
excited to be part of it.
I can't wait. I can't wait. So I'm going to stop the recording for the sake of the privacy of the ladies who do want to speak out. Yes, because I want to share. Yeah, I want them to be able to speak,
Yeah.
candidly. So I want to thank you. I want to encourage everyone to join us on the summit so that you just register. Again, register. If you can't make every session, make some of it. If you register, you'll get the copy of the replay, and you'll also get the opportunity to have a private session with Jamie and Amy, and find out one way or the other where if there's anything stopping you. But hold on one second, and thank you so much for joining us. And I'll see you at the summit. That's next week, next Monday through Friday, the 2nd to the 6th. Mark your calendars, and I'll talk to you soon.